evening. We are back here. We're going to continue working on what I'm going to call Project Wounded Kitty today. This is my co-worker's 06 Articat. As you guys can see, I have made quite a bit of progress here. I got the motor all apart, which you guys saw in the last video with this guy. She's all cleaned up. I got her all back together. As far as this goes, you know, all the internals are in there. I got my piston pin out of there, so that's ready to go for our new piston. Took the cylinder to a local machine shop for 40 bucks. Look at that. He cleaned that guy all up. That thing looks brand new. Look at it compared to the old one. I feel kind of bad sticking this guy on when this guy's so clean. But we had to bore over, I think, what was it? To the next biggest bore we could get. It's like, what, 2000s or something like that? 20, or I don't know. Anyway, all the technical stuff I'm not sure of on that. But anyway, it's bored out to fit our new piston. So we're going to keep on plugging away here at this. We're going to get the rest of this engine assembled here and thrown in Wounded Kitty. So hopefully we can get it going for Alan before the snow flies, because that's what he uses this machine for. If you guys remember, it's a snow vehicle. We are now getting close to the middle of November, so he's going to need this guy before long. So we need to get cracking. Alright, piston's installed. Hillbilly Garage is now officially set up once again because it got cold out here. So we got a fire going. Our plastic hillbilly wall is up. Now unfortunately, we can't really put the head or anything on yet because the gasket I ordered was the wrong gasket kit. It said it was for a 400 Articat, but apparently it was for a different 400 Articat. Maybe one of the sport models, I don't know, but regardless, I had to order another kit. But in the meantime, while we wait for that to come, I'm going to go ahead, we're going to take the motor, we're going to throw her back in the frame, and we can start putting some of this back together, some of the front and stuff. I got this all flushed out and cleaned. You guys didn't see that, but no need to show that. It's rather boring. I kind of blew it out a little bit, then took some distilled water, flushed it, rinsed it, so that's good to go there. But we can throw the main motor back in and start putting and cleaning up our side pieces, like our CVT case. We have our pieces of CVT up here. We clean up and throw back in there, make sure we get that good and clean. I do have a new belt coming as well. This one, it's not in the worst of shape, but it's not in the best of shape. I asked Alan if he wanted me to go ahead and replace it while we're tore into it. He said go ahead, which I recommend. He can keep this one for a spare if he needs it. We'll put a fresh new one on there so he's good to go. And I also had to order an axle, or just a boot kit. I think our, as you can see here, this boot is tore, so we're going to just replace the boot. Seems to me that the joint is fine. It's not ticking or anything, so we're going to put a boot on there and have him all fixed up there. But we'll get to that once we get everything else back together and get her running. So let's throw this motor back in frame. She's back in her home! Snug as a bug in a rug, or snug as a motor in a four-wheeler. Alright guys, we got the engine back in. We got some of the sensors and stuff hooked back up on this side. And everything just nice and comfy on this side. Show you guys real quick what I do to clean this old gasket material. Anytime you rebuild an engine like this, you have this old gasket material that's going to stick. And I don't like to take a razor blade because you take and you can gouge out your edge and stuff. So what I do is I have one of these little tiny Dremels that you can get pretty cheap now with a mildly abrasive sanding pad on the end. And I'll just crank this baby up. And I'll just do that the whole way around. Even if like a spot like this where there isn't any gasket material, I'll hit it real quick just to get any imperfections that might be out. And this way you clean up this old gasket material without damaging any part of your engine. Because if you do anything, you gouge, you take too much material out where you have a dip in there, it's not going to seal, you're going to have oil leaks, it's going to cause problems. So again, I just use a little Dremel with a mild abrasive sanding disc or pad or whatever, cylinder I guess that would be on the end, and I'll just work my way around. It takes time. You got to have a little bit of patience, but in the end, it's worth it because it's going to ensure that your rebuild goes back together smoothly, it seals, and you don't have any problems in the future. Alright, so we got our other pieces all cleaned up here, both other sides of our crankcase, both the CVT side and our magneto side. So we can put a little bit of reassembly here. I got this cleaned up. I still got to clean up our starter gears here. But other than that, this stuff is all ready to go. And exciting news! Our gasket seal came, our correct one. Now you take a look at this guy. I should have known something was wrong right off the bat. Look at the size difference. This is like for a little tiny four-wheeler. The four-wheeler we're working on. Little tiny Arctic Cat. The big Arctic Cat I'm working on. Quite a difference there. So I don't know what in the world this was actually for. It definitely wasn't the Arctic Cat 400 like the ad claimed. But anyway, we've got the correct ones now. So we're going to go ahead and let's go ahead and get the rest of our top end. Since we got the right gaskets now, we'll go ahead put our head on, our cylinder, our head, and get that all buttoned up, and then we can start reassembling the sides. And it should not be too long before we're ready to fire this guy up again and breathe new life into this worn out Arctic Cat. So probably should drain the gas too. I don't know how old that gas is that's in there, but it's been in there for a while, at least sitting here at my place. So we better drain that. We'll put some fresh in the tank too. Before we throw the head on there, we need to go ahead and install our valves. We're going to replace our valve seals here too because we got new ones with our kit. And I guess I still need to clean up the old gasket on this yet. Should have done that yesterday. I didn't even think of it. So that's what we're going to do. Probably aren't in bad shape, but we have the new ones that came with the gasket kit. We might as well go ahead and replace them all. And these new ones are all the same, so it doesn't matter which one they go on. We'll just go ahead and push them on. Makes it a little easier. If you give them a little twist as you're pushing them, they'll go right on for you. Alright, now we need our valves. This is our intake side. You can see where our air intake boot is. This is the exhaust side. So the garage jet had already tore this apart, already had these out. But they did bag them up and label them, which is nice. So this is the right exhaust. And this one's not labeled. I guess by its left intake. And this is right intake, so this must be left exhaust. So we can figure it out. Now let's see, to get the placement left and right on the engine, this guy is sitting like this. So this would be left, this would be right. Usually I like to I'll take a marker, a grease pen, and right on the head, you know, left, right when I take it off so I know. But again, I didn't tear this apart, so we'll just have to do it this way. So this is the right intake valve. And like I said before, our valves look to be in good shape. They're not even that carved up or anything. We don't see more, so we can reuse them. So what I say, this was our right exhaust. So this guy is going to go in this side. Like that. Make sure we're seated good. 2, 3, 4. And then our springs. And now they have to be compressed so we can install our little keepers. And now I gotta find what I did with my little compressed one. Alright, so I have this style valve spring compressor. It's probably not the best for these off-road machines, but I think it should still work as long as I can still compress the spring enough. You may end up having to invest in an actual ATV or small engine one, but we'll see how this works here. Just got to get her compressed enough to get the keepers on. Oh, we're almost there. So I think she's gonna work. Anyway, you just want to compress your spring enough to get the keepers on, which I am about there. What's that? Another one? Where's that one from?
Amazon merchant. e2moto.com. e2moto.
Oh, that's probably my belt for this.
Yeah, it feels like a belt.
Perfect. And you can see it takes a little bit of patience, but there is our one valve. Now we're just going to repeat the step 3 more times. Well, I apologize for that sudden cut there, but it's been cold. My main camera here that I use for most of my videos is a GoPro Hero 5, and the Hero 5 does not like the cold, so it's prone to just randomly stop recording. Batteries will zap down like that when it's cold, so unfortunately that's what happens when I cut. But as you guys can see here, I have made good progress with the Arctic Cat. The engine is all back together. I still have the CVT to go, but I'm gonna wait until I fire it for the first time, test everything before I go throwing all this back in, just in case something was to be off and we have to tear back into it. So what I'm working on now is we're gonna get the carburetor all hooked up. We'll have to get the air box and everything back on, so that way we'll be able to hit the old ignition and see if she'll fire. I got the battery on the charger, so hopefully it'll be good to go when we're ready to start. But I'm gonna keep plugging away here. So fingers crossed the next time I see you guys, we should be getting ready to hit the ignition switch on this thing to see if she's gonna start. Alright, we have her just about all together. As you can see, I probably went a little farther than I probably should have dared till we see if this runs. But I got excited. We went ahead and put the air box on and the exhaust, all that stuff. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go ahead and hook the battery up. Leave the kill switch off, just crank her a bit to work the fresh oil around in there, and then we'll turn the kill switch on and see if she'll start. Crank, 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 crank. So she's turned over good, sounds like she's got good compression. You guys pause this video right now, comment below how many cranks you think, or how many seconds you think it's gonna take for this puppy to fire up. I think I have everything hooked up. Probably just got to get all the fuel in her. We'll keep cranking, see if she goes. Hooey. This thing's carbureted. Does it have a choke on it, or is it an electric choke? I never even thought to consider that. Oh, I bet you it's electric. Must be electric. Being a 2006, it's still carbureted, I bet you it's electric choke. Okay, so let's just go ahead and we'll keep cranking here for a little bit. I wonder if I should pull off the fuel line, see if we're getting fuel. It's just right here on the side. I'm going to go ahead and do that and make sure we're getting fuel up to the carburetor. Well, it's the next day. I did not get this guy going more than a few seconds. We could get it to start with the starter fluid, but then once that burned off, it would just sputter and shut off. However, I did discover something that I didn't know about these Arctic Cats, which not a big surprise because this honestly is the first Arctic Cat I've ever worked on. But there is, if you guys can see in here, I don't know how well you can, there's this little lever right here. That's a primer pump. And so I discovered that if I continually hit that primer pump, she'll keep running. Let me show you. So if I give her about 5 pumps here before I even try to start her, and then hit the key, it fires right up. But however, there, as you can see, once we are used up all that gas that we primed, then she shuts off. However, if I continue to prime it, she'll sit here and run all day as long as I keep priming it. So what that's telling me is that we have a carburetor issue. We're obviously getting fuel to the carburetor, but for some reason it's not injecting it like it should. Which that could be in the fuel pump here as well. We'll have to check both things out. Let's see how long she runs after I quit priming. She's sputtering. Maybe she's gonna keep going this time. Okay? So there you have it. As long as I keep priming, she runs, but the minute you stop, once that fuel burns off, she stops. So I'm taking it that we're having a fueling issue. I'm going to pull the carburetor off, clean her up. And if cleaning the carburetor doesn't work, the next thing we'll do is we'll move back here to our fuel pump. But I already checked the fuel line. We are getting fuel to the carburetor. Well, obviously we have to be because of the primer pump's working. But if cleaning the carb doesn't do anything, we'll check the carburetor out. We'll check the sending unit down there in the tank. We'll just kind of work our way back with the most obvious thing being the carburetor and working backward. Alright guys, so we made some progress here. Now the last clip you saw, I couldn't get it to run. And I did eventually mess around with it a bit off camera, and I got it to where it would start, but I had to be on the throttle and it wouldn't last very long unless I stayed here with the primer pump. So we were having a fueling issue. So I went ahead and I replaced the fuel pump. And then that got me running somewhat decent, but it was still had pre-detonation, like a valve was sticking open or something like that. So I messed around with it. Turned out that my little fix job here on the stock head, you know, this was damaged, and you can see we were running a little bit lean. But you know, I tried to machine this down, smooth this up, and I set the valves with some lashing compound and stuff, and it just wasn't enough to get the job done. So I ended up going on eBay. I found a used one actually off a Suzuki 400, which is, you guys don't know, the Arctic Cat 400, the Suzuki 400, the exact same motor. I found a good used head, bought it for a couple $100, put it on there, and she fired right up. However, she still wouldn't stay running. So I got to thinking, well, we're still having a fueling issue even though I got rid of the ping. So I did eventually break down and I had to buy a new carburetor, because my theory was the electric choke wasn't working. These carburetors have electric chokes. They're built into the carburetor. Here's the old guy so I can show you. See, it's built right here into the side, and there really isn't much you can do to replace them. So I spent $70, got a new carburetor, and check this out, guys. She fires right up and purrs like like a cat. Still a bit cold-blooded, but anyway, it's getting cold out. I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna throw the plastics back on her, get the seat back on her, and then it's dark, but we'll take her for a little drive. Maybe probably wait for daylight so I can bring you guys along for the ride, see how she's running. I may have to play around with the jetting a little bit of the carburetor. Again, we had to bore out the piston, went with the next size up piston available. And a lot of times when you have to do that, contrary to what you may believe, you actually have to decrease the main jet size because you get a little bit more compression with the bigger piston in there, so it actually pulls more fuel. And so the stock jets could be a little bit over-fueling, which could cause it to bog down. And I noticed even when it's warm, if I hit full throttle, it tends to want to bog down. So I may have to get a jet kit and play around with the jets and the carburetor a little bit. But that's no big deal if we're up and running, to just play around with the carb to get her dialed in. So that's what I'm going to do. Just a quick update. We'll go ahead. I think we'll take a break from the snapping. Let's do a clap to a little bit of ride footage. Well guys, as you can see as best you can because of the nice washout behind you of light, she's all back together. The AutoCat 400 is running. We're going to take her for her inaugural test run here. Before I go for a ride here though, funny story I got to tell you. I got this guy all put back together, started up, the fired right up, was idling all right. I had to adjust the idle down a little bit. And I went to just move it back and forward in the Hillbilly garage here, make sure that the transmission was engaging correctly. And so I waited till it warmed up, it idled down. I put it in high and I go flying through into my cabinet in the front here. Let me show you. It's kind of funny. I move stuff now, but I kind of smashed my toolbox here because I went flying up through and slammed into that. So then I'd go to back up and the same thing happens. I go flying back, I hurry up and shut it off. And I'm like, well, what in the world is going on here? So I started again. This time I'm heavy on the brake. I put it in gear and it just lunges, the brake grabs and it immediately stalls. So I'm thinking, what in the world is going on here? So I thought, well, there's got to be something going on with the CVT, that it's not slipping like it should when I go to put it in gear, and it's just instantly grabbing and taking off. So I pull the CVT cover off, start up, and here, sure enough, the belt is in there and it's grabbing and catching all the time. And I thought, what in the world is going on? It shouldn't do that. I mean, it's not a Yamaha. The CVTs on the AutoCat kind of work like the Polaris, the Can-Ams. It's actually made so it slips until you're on the throttle, and then the clutch pads inside are spring-loaded, and as you give it gas, they come out, they grab the shaft that turns the primary clutch, which then turns the belt. And that's all made to slip when it's at idle. Well, I take the primary off, I take the outer case, or I guess it'd be the inner case of the CVT off once I have the clutches off. Guys, don't forget, I'm a Hillbilly mechanic. This is the Hillbilly garage. Come to find out, I put my one-way bearing in backwards. So it wasn't allowing that to slip like it should. It was spinning all the time. I turned the one-way bearing around, put her back together, and she's working good. So a little funny mishap. It would have been funny if I would have had the camera rolling for you guys to see me lunge forward and slam into stuff. Didn't have the camera rolling. Oh well, it is what it is. But anyway, that is my mistake. Guys, I never claimed to be a professional mechanic. Again, I'm a Hillbilly mechanic. And even professional, sometimes things like that slip up, especially when you're in a hurry. Again, this is for a coworker of mine. I've been trying to get it done before winter with what little time I have to work on it here and there. But anyway, it's pouring down rain. We're going to helmet up, goggle up. And even though it's cold, it's rainy, it's miserable, we'll take this guy for a little test run to make sure she's running all right. And yes, guys, once again, my audio messed up. Once more, these GoPros don't really like the cold, and when it's cold, they tend to screw up. So my whole audio here for this test ride did not come through. But basically, what you're going to see here is I did not get very far. First, she was running great, but the longer she ran, the worse she ran. You see here, I stopped as I made up the first little hill, finally, and I revved it a little bit. It was kind of just not wanting to idle smoothly. You hit the gas, it was wanting to bog down. It cleared up a little bit. We rode to the top of the hill, went to make the turn at the top of the hill, and that was all she wrote. She died right then and there. I sat there for I don't know how long in the rain, tried to get to start. She would not start. She just would turn over, would not start. So again, that's either telling me we didn't have the fuel, or we didn't have spark. So pretty much all I had left to do then was coast her back down the hill and get her back into the garage. So the next time you see this guy, hopefully we'll have it all wrapped up. We'll figure out what's going on with it. And we will have this guy back off to Allen in time to plow for winter. So guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoyed this little Arctic Cat series we're doing here in this motor rebuild. And I hope you guys look forward to what's coming for 2020. Again, thanks for watching. I thank and appreciate you guys so much for your support, whether it's just by watching my videos, giving me the old thumbs up, supporting me through my Patreon account, or buying my merchandise. You guys are why I'm able to do these videos, able to put out the content I do, and hopefully continue to bring you more and bigger and better content in the future. Again, thanks for watching, guys, and until next time, have fun, be safe, and keep on riding.